Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Hello everyone, I'm Fauzia Azzahra. Now we are going to talk about narrative text. Before we are going to talk about narrative text, I have a question for you. Have you ever read a novel or short story? For example, short story about Malin Kundang from Indonesia or Cinderella. Yes, something like that. I believe you have ever read novel, short story, or comic, etc. Let me know you that novel and short story is narrative text. Even you listen or watch the storytelling is narrative text. So, what is narrative text? Here definition of narrative text. Narrative text is an imaginative story to entertain people. It is the reason why we read a novel or short story is to entertain or make us refresh, right? Even sometimes we feel, kita merasa masuk ke dalam cerita yang sedang kita baca. Kita terlalu larut dalam cerita tersebut. Because when we read that, we use our imagination. So, what is the purpose of narrative text? Of course, as mentioned before, that narrative text is to entertain the reader or listener. Let's move to talk about structures of narrative text. There are orientation, complication, resolution, and coda or reorientation. Orientation is the opening paragraph of the text that introduces who the characters are involved in the story, when the incident happened, and where the place behind the incident of the story. This orientation is usually located in the first paragraph of the narrative text. Next, complication is the part of a narrative text which explains the beginning of the problem from the story. The beginning of this problem also begins a storyline which will then continue to conflict, climax, and anticlimax of the story. Generally, complication contains interaction between characters. This interaction creates a conflict or contradiction. There are three types of conflict that may occur in complication. There are natural conflicts, social conflicts, and psychological conflicts. As the name implies, a natural conflict is a problem between characters and nature. Social conflict is a problem between characters, while psychological conflict is a problem between the character and him or herself. After complication, there is a resolution. Resolution is the paragraph that ends the story in this part. There is a solution that makes the storyline end. Every problem that arises must have a solution, right? It can be closed with a happy ending or sad ending. The last one is coda or reorientation. Is a closing sentence that tells the last condition of the character in the story or the moral value of the story. This part is optional to be included in narrative text. Even the moral value of the story is usually delivered implicitly. Jadi, so moral value of the story itu kebanyakan biasanya tersirat. This part, reorientation or coda itu optional ada di dalam narrative text. The characteristics of narrative text. Narrative text usually uses simple past tense in which it tells a past event For example, Thumbelina found a bird that was sick and she nursed it. Also in narrative text, there are adverbs of time such as one day, once upon a time, a long time ago, and etc. Also, narrative text usually uses direct speech and indirect speech. For example of direct speech, an old woman said, "I want to have a child." Meanwhile, for example of indirect speech, an old woman said that she wanted to have a child. It's different, right? But let's watch the video of a narrative text. That is a fairy tale or short story with the title Thumbelina.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Hello everyone, I'm Fauzia. In this chance, I want to tell you a short story that I have read. The title is Thumbelina. So here we go.
A long time ago and far, far away, there was an old woman who wanted to have a child. Her wish came true when she met a lady who had been helped by her. A lady gave the seeds and told her to plant them with great love. So the old woman did all of those things the lady had taught her to. In a week, there was a beautiful flower in place of the seed. The next day, the flower bloomed. Inside the flower was a beautiful little girl who was the size of the woman's thumb, so she called her Thumbelina. One day, a frog took her to be wife for his son. Thumbelina cried, and some little gobies heard her and chewed the roots of the lily pad to help her escape. Thumbelina's lily pad floated away. A few hours later, she finally stopped floating. When she was looking for a place to live, a kindly mouse let her stay in her house. However, she asked for a reward to marry her friend, Mo. Like it or not, she had to do it for the sake of repaying her. Then she found a bird that was sick. She nursed it until it was cured and could fly. Thumbelina didn't want to marry Mo, so she was saved by the bird she had cared for. The bird took her flying away to a new place so that Thumbelina could live. She married a prince there, and she lived happily ever after. Right, we can get the moral value from this story. It's clear that we will encounter many problems and obstacles in our life. Many of doing something that we don't want, but as long as we believe to ourselves, honest and kind, just like Thumbelina, we will overcome these obstacles and in the end get what is the best for us. Now, you all already know what the narrative text is, the purpose of a narrative text, generic structure of narrative text, and the characteristics of narrative text. So, to make you understand this material better, I will give you an exercise to answer some of the questions that I will put in the end of this video from the text that will be given in the video. So you can pause the video first to read the text. You can put and you can put the answer in the comments below. Alright, I think that's all for me. I hope you could understand my explanation. Keep learning and don't give up. Thank you for your attention. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. See ya.